Welcome to the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. This is episode 15, To Sleeve or Not to Sleeve. My name is Tyler.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
And we have Ben back with us.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Ben. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Finally get to be on an episode with Ben.
What a joy. Thank you.
In this episode, we're going to talk about the games that we've been playing lately. Plus, we're going to get into a great discussion on why we should all sleeve our games.
Oh, is that how we're going to phrase it now? Okay.
No, I think that is the only way to phrase it.
Shots have been fired.
But it'll be a lively debate, I'm sure.
Don't worry, for everybody, the majority of people who do not sleeve, you'll have
A good reason to
Good
sleeve after this
contenders.
episode.
Yeah. Many
To
points
combat.
as to why sleeving is important.
And
for
thus
sure.
it begins.
This is true. So what have you guys been up to lately? It's been a little while since we recorded.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you guys since you got back from Origins. This is the first time I've seen you guys.
Yeah. Excited to see you. Yeah. Origins, as we talked about, was a blast.
Amazing.
It was. I wish we were going to Gen Con.
I wish we were too.
I kind of still just want to buy a last minute flight and say screw it and go.
When is it?
I
Couple
don't
weeks?
think I could get that approved by the boss.
Which one? The
wife.
home boss?
The wife.
I'm not sure.
We already have a lot of vacation planned, so it may be hard with work as well.
I'm
But
not
I would
sure-
love to go.
I'm not sure I could either, but she's going to Hawaii in a couple months.
so you got
maybe.
maybe.
Some leverage there, maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to Gen Con eventually and just see the spectacle because after going to Origins and hearing about Gen Con, it just seems a little bit bigger and more vendors, and I'm excited to give that one a shot too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys had such a good time at Origins, but I would love to join you guys at the next time there's a convention that we're all going to. I want to be there.
It'd
be fun.
Love to have you come. It
Yeah.
was awesome. For
We
sure.
need our whole gaming group there too. Like
We'll
that'd
get
be
Mark
awesome.
there, get Dan there. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Dan, he's been to a few conventions. So
I thought he was going to Origins. He
He
Wasn't able to?
canceled, and then he was debating whether or not he was going to Gen Con as well. So he hasn't. Last I heard, he's still up in the air as to whether or not he might go to Gen Con.
Nice.
if he does go, we'll live vicariously through him. Hopefully, he takes a lot of
absolutely.
pictures. Right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, should we get started?
Let's do it.
All right. Kevin, what have you been playing lately?
So I've been playing a game in the Welcome to line of games. It's the latest in the line, and it's called Welcome to the Moon. So if you've ever played a Welcome to game, this is very similar to the mechanic in the original. And I think there was a Welcome to Las Vegas. Wasn't there one that came out as well?
yes.
Yeah.
There's a few games in the series, right? So the way the game works, if you haven't played it, is you have a deck of cards, and they're numbered from 1 to 15. And then on the backside of those cards, there are different symbols that represent different actions. So you split that deck into 3 separate piles. You flip over a card, and there'll be a number associated with an action. And you will then mark off a number on a player board that is one of the 3. And then usually there's an action associated with that, and you take that action, right? What sets this one apart is it's a campaign game, which is amazing. So there are 8 separate boards that are part of this campaign. You can play them as a campaign. We didn't do that, but you can, or you can play each individual board separately, 1 through 8. So Tyler and Ben and I played the first 2 scenarios, and they're completely different.
They
from
were
each
totally
other.
different from each other.
Yeah.
Totally different, which was awesome, right? So the first one kind of eases you into it. There's a ship that you're trying to launch. And on that ship, there are a bunch of different levels, and those levels are then split up into different sections. And when you write numbers, you're trying to complete those sections, and you get bonuses for doing that. But the whole goal is you're trying to mark off these little ships on the right. Once you mark all those off, you get points. And if you get to the top, then you launch your ship. And I think the person who launches wins. Was that how it worked?
Yeah. Both of us launched, but I had 2 extra credit points. So I beat Tyler with the extra credit.
Right. And I was somewhere way behind. I did terrible on that first map, but it was a ton of fun. And that was the first one. So the second one completely changed it up. You were doing actions, which you didn't do in the first one. And the biggest change was that you were flying your ship to the moon, and it was one continuous line.
That was like 40 spots long or something.
Right. So when you're playing Welcome to, you have to go from, lower to a higher value when you're marking off, right? So if there's 40 different spots, obviously.
But the deck goes 1 to 15.
Yeah, it goes 1 to 15. You're going to run into some problems there, right? One of the actions that you could take is you can mark a line. You're basically dividing that big route into multiple routes, smaller routes. And that's one of the actions that you can do. And that just made for some really interesting decisions. Where am I going to break the line? Am I going to try and go for a really long run from 1 to 15 because I get points for that at the end of the game? Am I going to chop it up into smaller sections because I get points for that at the end of the game? There's rules that, these robots are going to planets that are harvesting plants or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the little satellites.
Little
plant
satellite things. And if to build a plant, you have to have that section where you write a number in to get that plant built. So if you cut off the section from the planet,
which is what I did.
Yeah, right.
So I got 0 points for the plants.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of things to think about. You're sending robots out to the planets.
It was a little less forgiving than the first scenario. I made a couple mistakes and messed up the top or the last third of my path.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did make my brain hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
It was crazy that it took this game that's simple, this Welcome to concept that isn't overly complex, but that second scenario that we played was like a brain burner. It was
completely different than the first version and any other version of Welcome to that I played. Right?
Well, and I wonder if the subsequent scenarios get even more complicated, or if that just happened to be one of the
tougher ones.
Tougher ones.
I don't know.
I'm very curious.
But I'm super excited to find out, right? Like, what are those other 6? So it's basically like you're getting 8 games in a box.
Right.
And the fact that you can link them together in a campaign is really interesting. There was cards in the box that we didn't even play with. They were part of the campaign. And I'm definitely going to pick it up. I don't have the game. We played it. We just took it from the library at Origins, and the first day that we were there played it. And, it'll be one that I get.
We don't usually talk price point. We have a couple of times. I think we looked it up when we played it, and it was around $35 that you could get it, which is more than reasonable for the number of different versions of Welcome to you're getting, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the content in that box, it's
it was
crazy,
awesome.
Crazy. And
Super cool.
And campaign games are kind of the hotness nowadays, right? So everybody's making their own campaign game, and hopefully this one pulls it off well. And it looks like from our initial plays that it's got a good chance of doing that. So if you like rolling rights or flipping rights, I think it's one you should definitely check out. That's Welcome to the Moon.
I've been playing a game that's about exploration as well. It's not a game that takes you to the moon. This one takes you to the Caribbean or Pacific Islands, right? The game I'm talking about is an older game. It's been out since 2012. It's called Archipelago. And Archipelago is designed by Christoph Bollinger and published by Ludically Games. And this game, I remember hearing about it back when it was released or close to, and it was pretty well received. I don't know that this game has aged as well in regards to the theme and some of the things that are going on. I would say that I would describe this game in the simplest of ways as if you've played Spirit Island, Archipelago is the antithesis to Spirit Island.
So it's awful?
In theme, it's the antithesis in theme, okay. Right? So it's exploring. It's a semi-cooperative game, exploring the archipelagos of
exploiting the natives.
Exactly. So you are trying to colonize the indigenous peoples and put them to work and do a lot of stuff that you shouldn't.
So it's a fun game. We're just awful people.
That sounds terrible.
It is. So that noted, it's a theme that is not great, and it's actually very much true to the colonization and the kind of horrors that the colonialism put people through back then. Now, as far as gameplay goes, it is a semi-cooperative game that you're exploring these islands and you're trying to essentially, you're creating these territories that you can control so that you can harvest resources, you can build markets, you can sell and buy things and trade with others for all different types of things like fish and corn and every other type of resource you can imagine. And then you're trying to build markets and harbors and cities and temples and do all of these things on these hexagonal tile pieces where you're unfolding and building out this map that's going to be different every game. The thing is, if the indigenous peoples become too upset, then they'll overthrow everybody and destroy the colonists, and everybody can lose together. So that's how it's semi-cooperative, is if you're not working together in some way, you can all lose collectively.
Along with the natives.
Correct, because nobody wins in that scenario, right? So it is a problematic theme. I would love to see this game like redone because mechanically it's great. I would like to see it get the treatment of something like Mombasa. Alexander Pfister is redoing that too. I believe it's a like space kind of a themed game, and I'd like to see something like that because there's a lot of great stuff in here, but it does make me feel a little uncomfortable playing this game because of what you're actually doing in the game. But there are some interesting things in the game that I don't feel like I've seen in other games. You have a card river where you can purchase and acquire cards throughout the game. But in order for those to turn over, it's not like you just discard the card on the furthest left and get rid of that. Instead, every single card in the game has 4 values in each card corner. And those values can range from like 0 to like 5 or 6. And you can have the same value on multiple corners. But essentially what you get to do is decide to either buy a card or leave it there in that card river. And when you leave it there in that card river, instead of buying something, you have to adjust the price. So you rotate the card clockwise in a way that it goes down 90 degrees and you're showing the next value, and that value usually decreases as the game is going on. So if it's a card that you want to get rid of because you think, oh, somebody else is going to try and use this card and it's going to do them really well, if you don't buy something, you have to knock something down in price, making it more available for the next player, which is an interesting choice I think you have to make in the game, because you're going through and trying to decide, okay, which cards do I want? Which cards can I not afford Kevin to get? Which cards can I make sure that I get the next time and make sure I'm decreasing it the right way? So it makes some really interesting choices. And there's a lot of other really interesting choices in the game about what you're doing. You can build these different buildings, and each of them will come with different benefits. And every tile on the board has resource spaces on it that you can collect. If you're collecting a specific type of resource, you collect all of the resources that you control of that type throughout the game. So there's a lot of really interesting things going on in this game. I just wish that it didn't have such a problematic theme. Because I think this game has a lot to offer mechanically.
Cool.
When did you say it came out?
2012. So it's not like
It's fairly new.
Fairly new. 10 years.
It's
10 years old, right?
in regards to board games.
In board game years, it's 10 years.
But it's not old enough to like. It's not like 10 years ago exploiting indigenous peoples was something that was okay, right?
No, 10 years ago is still bad, right?
So
yeah,
I have I don't know. I just want to read this from the BGG description, but players also need to be careful of the natives. If they make them too unhappy or too many of them are unoccupied, they could revolt and declare independence. Then everyone will lose.
Oh my goodness gracious. That is terrible.
Like and even so, the art is very problematic.
Is
on
it?
it.
I was going to ask how
you
the art
look
is.
at how the indigenous peoples are depicted on it, and it's problematic, and so
it needs to be rethemed. Right?
It really does, and it needs to have like. If I were involved with the publication, I would have changed this BGG description and like saying that type of it's.
But
it's
with
not
that-
one that I can fully recommend because of that problem, the problematic theme and exploiting human life. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
Right.
But I wish that it weren't this theme because there's
Some
a
of the
lot to
mechanics
love.
were cool.
But hearing you talk about mechanics, there's things that definitely interest me. I love that decision of, do I take this or do I take this because I know it can benefit somebody else type of thing, right? Like when you say the cards get cheaper, that interaction's cool, right? And
Yeah.
I like those decisions. Problematic theme, but it sounds like the game itself is good and worth checking out, right?
Right.
So it says that there's potential backstabbing too. Did you approve of
Well,
the
now I'm
backstabbing
interested.
in this?
You
in
usually
There's a lot
approve
There's a lot of
backstabbing.
interaction in this game, and there's things you can do because essentially that semi-cooperative nature is it's almost. I'm trying to think of a comparison. The best I can think of is in like Santorini, when you're playing a 3-player game of Santorini, where you can basically say, well, I'm not going to take this move because I know that Tyler's coming up next and he can take this move to stop Kevin. So I don't have to choose to stop Kevin. I can force Tyler to do that for me and get away with it. So in this game, because of the semi-cooperative nature, essentially one of the things that you have is this collective goal to donate a certain amount of resources every round in order to again appease the indigenous peoples there, and so you're giving them some sort of resource to satisfy or quench their potential anger and things like that. So again, problematic. But mechanically, what's going on is I can say, oh, I'm going to leave that up. I'm not going to waste my resources on this because I know that Tyler has enough resources to be able to solve this problem on his own. But you can essentially come back and say, you didn't do it. Forget about it. I'm not doing any of it either. And it's going to hurt everybody collectively. So there's some cool stuff like that.
It's like when you go to fight the troll in
I was thinking of that.
Champions?
Champions of Midgard,
Yep.
and then you on purpose lose, so everybody gets stuck with a token.
I didn't do it. Wasn't on purpose. It was an accident. but it did happen.
But yeah, that's Archipelago. And again, I would love to recommend this game, but I unfortunately cannot.
Speaking of the word Archipelago, I've been playing Ark Nova.
Oh,
Nice.
I am so clever.
That's so clever.
Another
Double so
game
clever.
that I haven't played recently, but I have played once. Anyhow, so Ark Nova, I think we've all heard of it. I know Kevin and Tyler have played it now. They played with me. Have you had a chance to play it,
I
Tyson?
still have not.
So this is my second time playing Ark Nova. The first time was with my uncle. Uncle Matt is his name. I got in trouble for not giving his name
was there.
previously. So Uncle
I
Matt,
said
hello.
his name last time.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Yes. Well, Uncle Matt, hello. Thank you so much for bringing Ark Nova. But I got to play it again. And I still love the game. I think it's so much fun. It has a lot going on in terms of it's a detailed game. There's a lot of thought process on what your turns are going to be and what you're going to do and how to make things work well. So it's not going to be a game for everyone. It's long. It's a fairly long game. I don't remember how long it took us to play, but 3-4 hours or something.
It was at least 3, but that was with the teach too.
Yeah.
And it was compounded by the fact that we started it after a very long day at like 10 o'clock at night.
That's right.
Yeah, we finished.
We shut
up
down
about,
the boardroom that day.
Yeah, we finished up about 12:45, and they were closing the whole convention center at 1. So
Yeah.
we were a
So
little sleepy.
It was late. It was the end of the day, and it's a heavy game for that. But it has a couple of different mechanics that I've seen in other games, sort of all mashed into one game. Most people will say that it has similarities to Terraforming Mars. And to be clear about that, what I find to be the similarity to Terraforming Mars is the concept of the cards that you use. Every card is a unique card. And I don't believe there's a single duplicate card in there. I could be wrong, but I don't think that there is. And the cards, some of the cards have an immediate effect with a one-time reward. Other cards have an ongoing action that you can now do on your turn. benefit that it gives you, a new skill type of a thing. And you're trying to get your cards to work synergistically to help you successfully build your little zoo that you're building on your tableau in front of you.
And there's also prerequisites on cards that you need to satisfy, and that's also in Terraforming
It
Mars.
is, yeah. Yep. So similar to Terraforming Mars, that mechanic can be super awesome if out of these billions of cards you happen to get a few that work together synergistically. It can be really fun. But if you're Tyler, then you don't get any cards that work well together.
Then
and
you need
very
a bear.
frustrating.
You need a bear, and you can't get it, right?
Yeah, I did need a bear the whole game, and then I finally ditched the cards that needed a bear, and then I got a bear later.
And then they show up, so that
It just wandered in. Here's a bear.
My problem with my first play was I focused too much on my end game scoring card, which really wasn't worth focusing on, and
I realized that too at the end.
Tied my hands in ways that I did not want them tied.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of points that way. I did like the action selection, how you have was it 5 basic action cards that you can do?
So to describe that a little bit more, everybody has the same 5, I think it is, actions available to them. And you can pick one of the actions on your turn to use. Each card is in a slot on your board, and that slot corresponds to a value 1 through 5. So the action that you're choosing will have that particular value with it, and that gives it, how do I explain that? It tells you how much you can do with that card and how effective that card might be depending on the number associated with it.
So like the 5, it's 1 through 5. The 5's going to be a better action. It's going to be the best action.
So if I want to do the build action and I want to do it on 5, I can maybe build 2 things, for example. But if I do the build action on a 2, I can only build 1 and I have to pay extra. So when there's a bit of, when do I play this card? When do I pull it? It's going to drop back down to 1 when I'm done. But then something else that I really want moves up, and now it's a 3. And then I can use that to get the 2 things I need out of that because it's at a 3 now. So it's kind of fun to play with when to use your actions.
And you can play, there's cards that come up that you can play that manipulate those cards in front of you as well. So you can say, take this card and it moves down to 1, bumps everything else up. So that's what I found most interesting about the game is that action selection mechanic. It was really cool.
I don't know that I've seen that in any other game.
That was my favorite part of the game. And other than that, I felt like I'd seen everything that it had done.
Sure. The scoring system in particular, you've seen that before.
In Rajas of the Ganges,
you have
right?
2 different victory point track markers essentially on opposite ends of the victory track, and they're coming toward each other and crossing over. That's from Rajas, however you say that.
Yes. So a couple things I came away from this game. 1, I'm excited to play it more. 2, at the time we played it, it was ranked number 11th overall. And I felt like that was a bit overrated and just riding the coattails of how successful Terraforming Mars has been.
Oh, interesting.
I feel like that number is that high because there are people who love Terraforming Mars that love this game, and it does something slightly different. I mean, a few things slightly different.
I can see that.
And, it's new and exciting. I feel like it's riding the coattails of Terraforming Mars.
And I got, like, after I played it, I got the same vibes that I got playing Terraforming Mars.
Yep,
I really
absolutely.
did. It was very, very similar. We've talked about the differences. There obviously are differences. The theme's different, the action selection stuff. But, it's got multi-use cards. It's got a whole bunch of cards, and it's just very similar.
Yeah, there were birds.
And they're birds.
Birds.
There were birds.
And apparently there's no penguins on the box of this. I've discovered this later.
Penguins?
Penguins?
Penguin?
I was under the impression that there was penguins all over this box when we last discussed it, and I was incorrect. Now,
There's like a giant elephant. We're talking about the Ark Nova box?
Yeah.
There's a giant elephant on it. That's all I really know.
yeah, there's no penguin on the front of the box.
I bought this game at the Capstone Games booth, and I was a little worried about it selling out.
It was a popular ticket, yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't want to miss out. And then I think we played it that very night.
Yep.
And then I was like, how do I sell this game back? Or how do I get rid of this game? Not that it's not a great game.
But I bought it as well.
But Ben has a copy now. And so I ended up actually, when I was at the math trade, I went to the math trade at Origins, and I talked about this last episode, waiting around for what's his name to show up along with the other 30 people who are waiting for this one guy to show up an hour later after the thing started. Oof. And so I just started calling out, anybody want Ark Nova for 65? And, somebody finally was like, yeah, I'll buy it. And I was like, sweet. So I bought it and then sold it a couple days later without opening it.
Awesome.
So I'm curious, as the only one who hasn't played Ark Nova, is this one going to get played? Because it sounds like Tyler has now sold his copy. He says he likes it and would play it again. But I'm curious because the 3-hour timestamp sounds formidable. Is it going to get brought out to the table again? Because this is one I was very interested in. I'd like to try it.
I think this is one that, like Terraforming Mars, you get more familiar with the cards. We could play it.
It'll go faster for sure.
Yeah.
And there's so many cards that you're not going to see them all in one game, and it's going to be different every time. Mm-hmm. I think the replayability is there, and I think the more you play it, the better you'll get at it, like you said, Tyler. So I think for sure it'll get to the table, and I'd be interested in playing again.
The only other thing I was wondering is, and you guys probably won't be able to answer this, is how it ranks compared to Terraforming Mars, if you have a preference, or is it just more thematic? Terraforming Mars, I think, sounds generally like a more appealing theme to most people than managing a zoo.
Oh.
But I liked the managing a zoo theme a lot, actually.
I love the animals. So for me, that was part of the draw, was building little enclosures and putting animals in it. And well, now that sounds terrible, I guess.
I mean, after one play, I think it has the potential to be one that I like more than Terraforming Mars, but I've got to play it more to really make that decision. But I think it definitely has the potential to be a better game in my opinion.
Well, and especially if they start releasing expansions, and if they do something like Prelude that maybe jumpstarts the game a little bit, definitely. I think this has the potential to be better.
And I think this is on the road to more expansions. Like being number 11 on Board Game Geek, they're going to probably milk this for all it's worth, I would think. But
it's number 9 now.
Aren't they the same folks that do...
Oh, it's number 9 now?
I think.
Holy cow.
And will probably be number
7
at the time of this release.
Oh.
Through the power of editing.
And isn't it Capstone Games that does Clinic that has 8 expansions?
Yes.
Yeah. So they know how to do expansions.
I do like the card art a lot more than Terraforming Mars.
Well, that's another thing that's a similarity is it's actual pictures, right? Uh-huh. And Terraforming Mars, it's in most cases it's pictures, but it's wildly inconsistent, right?
Yeah.
In Terraforming Mars.
But
and in this one, it's more consistent.
It is. And you're right.
Similar to Terraforming Mars, the cards have like tags on them too, and
yeah,
the cards part is the part that's very similar.
It's good, but yeah, absolutely would play it again.
So basically, they did a good job retheming Terraforming Mars and changing a couple of things,
changing the scoring and
throwing
changing
in the Rajas of the Ganges scoring,
and having you build your own tile placement of hexagons instead of
a community board. Everybody. The action selection is different. Hey, that's different.
The action selection is definitely different,
and that's a unique concept.
It is definitely unique.
Yeah,
that's what I've been playing, Ark Nova.
So one of the games that I've been playing lately, it came out I don't even know. It's a brand new game. It's called Gimme That, and it does not have a year associated with it on Board Game Geek yet. So Gimme That, and checking this out on BGG, there are 21 all-time plays. This game is brand spudding new.
How many of those are your plays?
One right now. So in this game, and really this is it's a quick activity. Each player takes a sheet, and it's 3 to 8 players. Each player takes a sheet, and on this sheet there are 100 potatoes. And basically the gist of the game is when you have the pencil, you're writing numbers 1 to 100 in the potato. So 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're saying the number out loud that you are writing, which I was reading these instructions and I was like, okay, all right. So in the box, there's a dice, a 6-sided die, a pencil, and a pad of these papers with 100 potatoes on them. But while you're writing, the person after or that's next to you starts rolling the die. And there are different actions on this die. There is a pencil icon, which you then get to say, "Gimme that," and you grab the pencil from the person that's writing. There's like a fist bump, and you say "spud bump," and everybody has to do a spud bump in the middle. Everybody except for the person writing. There's a high five one. And that also had a funny name. The high fry is the hand slap. Everybody
nice.
together. And then mashed potatoes, everybody does a drum roll on the table. There was one that you pass, everybody passes their papers to the left, including the person that's writing. So there were multiple times where like you're getting close to finishing your paper. You're like in the 80s, and then a pass left happened. And you go back to like 17, right?
Oh.
So it was like 10 minutes, 15 minutes of pure chaos. You know, each person who's not writing on their sheet rolls a die, does the action, and then passes the die to the next person. And so you're constantly passing this die around while the other person who has the pencil is writing. So, but a lot of times, you know, you get the pencil and you go to write the next number, and somebody rolls the pencil and grabs the pencil away from you before you can even write the next number. So it's kind of just pure chaos, pandemonium.
That sounds fun.
It was a lot of fun, 10 to 15 minutes. I look forward to playing this again. It would be really fun playing with little kids or, you know,
played this
family.
game.
I played it as a teenager.
Yeah, I was going to
Exactly.
say.
With the candy bar.
Exactly.
Is that how you played it?
Well, I did it with like a white elephant gift exchange type of thing, but it's the exact same thing.
We did it with a giant candy bar in the middle. And whoever's, quote, has the pencil is actually like carving chunks of the candy bar off to eat it while the others are rolling. And if they roll doubles,
Wait a minute.
then they steal the knife from you and they get to start eating the candy bar.
we need to go into this a little bit deeper. So,
How many kids died while playing this game?
no, but you're carving up a candy bar with a pencil. Is
No,
that
a knife.
I did air quotes. You couldn't see that.
Oh,
It was like a plastic knife that we had, and you're carving chunks of that candy bar off of with this plastic
okay.
knife.
I heard you wrong there. All right.
I'm picturing a Rambo machete in my head. Like,
This one sounds very much in the theme of other Dolphin Hat games.
they did
And
taco cat goat cheese.
They did taco cat goat cheese
right?
pizza. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's chaos. And it sounds like this one has equal chance of injury. You know,
Yeah.
It sounds awesome.
Yeah, you got to be careful when you're passing that pencil that you are grabbing the right end of it and
not
the
stabbing
pointy end
yourself
of
with
it.
that lead.
We didn't have that happen at all. But so funny story about lead. In 7th grade, I was in school writing on my, doing my favorite pastime, writing with a pencil.
This
which
is
I
where
hate.
your fear of pencils comes from, isn't it?
You have a fear of pencils?
No, I hate to write by hand.
Oh, that's right.
I want to type. I want to never write with a writing utensil.
Interesting.
With a writing
Instrument?
Whatever, Ben.
Well, this is like rolling
And the
rights are
know-it-all
tough for
is
you.
here
Yeah,
today.
roll and writes
They're
yeah.
hard.
So this one, the fact that it was a speed one and I'm writing with a pencil and enjoying it, that says something about the game. Anyway, back to 7th grade. I believe it was math class. You know how when you drop something, you try to kind of break the fall of it with your foot?
Yeah.
A little bit. Okay, so my pencil rolled off my slanted tabletop desk, and I tried to break the fall of it with my foot, and the pointy end was pointed up, and it stuck into my ankle, and the tip broke off inside my ankle. It's still there
No.
to this day.
You have some unexplored trauma that you have to deal with here. About
You have an ankle lead
now, I
tattoo?
understand why he doesn't like rolling rights or any flipping rights. Or
I had an
anything.
equally traumatic pencil experience.
You did?
I did when I was in high school.
But you got over yours. It
well,
sounds like.
I did. So my high school brain thought it'd be cool to sharpen both ends of a pencil. Right? And then my high school brain thought it'd be cool to jam that pencil into the ceiling. So I did that.
Oh, no.
One side went in the ceiling.
The other one in your hand.
The other side went in my hand and broke off, just like you. And to this day, I have lead in my hand.
Awesome. Was it a number 2?
Probably.
So fun fact, the brain of boys does not fully develop until a little later in life.
This is very true because why the heck did I do that? But, I didn't retain that trauma.
I don't.
And
feel
I love roll and writes, and I do like.
You like writing on.
I like
on
writing
the
on
actual
things.
pad of
Right,
paper. Tyler
right.
just has this.
Yeah, why would I
Phobia.
write when I can type at 75 words a minute?
Well, that's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
It's all about
Because
the
you're playing
efficiency.
a game, and the game
Hey,
is about
hey,
writing.
I like roll and write games. If I have to write, that's fine. It's not my favorite.
You would rather play Railroad Ink on BGA than in person.
Absolutely.
To be fair, I
100%.
would
rather
too.
play it. I would rather play it in person, but that's just me.
That was Gimme That. I assume it's going to be released in 2022 to the masses. I picked it up at Origins. It was a really fun, game right in line with the other Dolphin Hat games that we've played.
Awesome.
So another game that I've been playing lately, it's one I've played for a while, but I got my first chance to play it on the table recently, and that's Dunhuang, Pearl on the Silk Road. Now, if you have listened to any of the podcasts before, you know that I've worked with the publisher Jing Studio, who publishes this game, and they sent me a Chinese publication of this game, and that's what I have is the Chinese version of this game that I got to play. And it's a game that essentially, it, like all of their games, takes place in a historic Chinese city called Dunhuang in this one, where your goal is to paint pictures, essentially. So the game is about painting frescoes, because in Dunhuang, back during the time of the Silk Road, Dunhuang was a stop that was very popular. There was a lot of commerce going on there. There was a lot of goods exchanged, etc. So in the game, there's all these different types of resources that you can manage: silk, jade, porcelain, gold, silver, bronze, iron, tons of different things that you can do in this game. So in Dunhuang, what happened historically was there was a bunch of paintings in this Mogao grotto in Dunhuang, where the walls were lined with paintings, and artists from all over came and started painting over previous paintings and doing different things. So the game is you're creating these paintings, and what these paintings are essentially worker placement spots. And in it, everything in the game is a worker placement spot, essentially. So you're trying to go to these different spots to do different things, and you can create new worker placement spots every time you put down a new quote unquote painting. And by the time the painting is finished, if it finishes early on in the game, it's worth a lot of points. The later on in the rounds it gets, the less points that's worth. One of the things that's interesting about this game, I think, is that it comes with a bunch of different packs. So it's a very modular game in that there are I think 11 or 12 different packs in the game that you can interchange, and you're only going to use 3 of these packs, and they are the resources that you're going to be playing with. And these resources will define the mechanics of the game. You have a basic game that has one simple worker placement mechanic, and then every game you play you can combine or add different modules so that you get a different experience every single time you play. And like I said, every one of these modules is going to have a different mechanic with them. So basically the game will encourage you to play with 3 packs to start with: gold, silver, and tea. And gold, silk, and tea. And those packs are your basic mechanics. When we played with a bunch of different ones that I had never played with. And so we got to explore that a little bit. And it was interesting. I really like this game for what it's doing. But between this and Ping Yao, which is the other game that I've played of Jing Studios, I think I like Ping Yao a little bit better. They both have a lot to offer, and I like seeing the differences between an Asian publisher and Asian designer than some of the more European Euros that we play and European publishers, because there is a difference. I think it makes my head work in a different way. And that may only be true of this particular designer, but it was fun to see the different iterations. And I enjoyed getting this one finally to the table. I know that Tyler and Kevin both played this one. What were your guys' feelings about Dunhuang?
So I really enjoyed the game. I had a good time playing it. I would like to go back to it. The first play was a little rough. It's a little some of the rules are a little difficult to pick up and understand. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, fun play. I enjoyed winning and whatnot.
I mean, that usually increases your enjoyment of a game, winning a little bit anyway, right?
No, I would definitely go back to this game. I had a good time. I think it's really cool that there are so many different, what are they called? The different boxes, the different modules that you can combine together, which kind of opens up for a lot of possibilities and in a different experience each time you play.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up is the modules. It seems like it has a lot of variability. We only did 3 of them, obviously, but mixing and matching those together it's going to create some different experiences and different ways the game plays, which is cool. And I'd be interested in exploring that. I thought the art was cool. It was not a final, I think, because it's coming to Kickstarter, right? Is that
it's the published version? That was the full retail Chinese version that we played, and yes, it is coming to Kickstarter.
Got it. Yeah. I thought the art was great. I liked the production and I like how it looked. I'd be interested in playing it a little bit more and exploring it. It was a fun play. I liked it.
I agree, Tyler, that I think the first time playing it on the table, I've only played it on Tabletop Simulator up to this point until we played it on the table. And the first time on the table was not my favorite experience with it. And part of that was, as I said, the learning games that you play, it recommends you play with gold, tea, and silk, which we didn't play with any of those modules. And I wonder if that had an impact on it because that wasn't my favorite play of it either, but I would like to explore more of the game. And like you said, Kevin, this is coming to Kickstarter at some point within the next month or two. Jing Studio has a preview link to the Kickstarter page or a pre-launch page there on their social media and stuff. But I'll be excited to see what the final product looks like because I'm no longer dealing with it at all, but I'm excited to see that.
I did also like, the worker placement boards and how, if someone placed their worker or their meeple on one of your boards, which might give them a really big benefit, it also benefited you by making your die go up in value to the point that it could, I don't know the terminology, graduate. And
so essentially what you're talking about is the completing of the fresco, right? So in the game mechanically, you can start a painting, but you're not the one who can quote unquote finish the painting because historically, like I said, there was paintings that were covering paintings, etc. So thematically that comes in as you're going to have other players finish your work that you started. And so in order to get points off of your painting, if you are the only one who continues to go to the worker placement spots that you've created, your painting will never really finish. But if you allow somebody else to finish your painting for you, that's how you get a lot of points. So it does create a really interesting dynamic, I think, of am I going to play a worker placement tile for my hand that benefits me because in the strategy I'm doing, or am I going to put something on the table that I know that my opponents are going to use because it benefits their strategy? So it's that kind of push and pull of, do I want to play something that is going to benefit them because they're going to get points out of this as well, but are they going to do it fast enough to get me points? Because the earlier on in the game that you finish your paintings, the more points they're worth.
I think, so that part of the game, I think, was my favorite part. And I think if we played a 3-player game, and a 4-player game, there's going to be even more frescoes available or whatever to finish. That combined with the fact that you can play with different modules that have different things to explore, both during the game and for the end game scoring, there's some cool stuff there for sure.
Yeah, I had completely forgotten about that part of the game. So apparently it didn't make a big impact on me in the first play. But as you're talking about that, that was a pretty cool part of it, right? And there was combos that you could have between the two. I remember there was 2 different fresco pieces or whatever that comboed really well together. I think you really optimized, Tyler, and really kind of gave you the edge and the win there. But
and then
that was a cool part of the game.
Tyler ended up also he recruited characters that made his meeples more powerful. So as he was putting his meeples out to do that combo, he was compounding his combos, which is something that I think in any game, I really like when a game allows you to chain actions together. And I love the chain effects of games.
I like games that make me feel smart when I do cool stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember any of that.
You could have. So it didn't make
But I
a huge
had fun.
impact on
No,
you
no,
either, apparently.
Well, you know, we played it a while ago.
And we
so-
play a lot of games. So.
We do. But yeah, that's Dunhuang, Pearl on the Silk Road.
All right, I think that about wraps up what we've been playing lately.
Oh, better. That was long. I'm just kidding.
Get out now.
Wait a minute. Who invited Ben?
All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of this episode. We're going to talk about to sleeve or not to sleeve.
Do we need to set like ground rules before we get going here?
No, let's not. Let's just see what happens.
All out
First
brawl.
one to
Okay.
draw blood wins.
Okay.
No,
I'm
just
sitting next to Ben. I don't like my
Yeah,
chances.
yeah. It's this is a done deal.
He's cagey over there.
He is, right? Oh, he's got a look in his eye.
But yeah, so sleeving cards, what we're talking about when we're talking about sleeving cards is that there are a lot of different games that you'll play. And oftentimes when you get a new game, or at least in Tyler and Kevin's case, oftentimes when they get a new game, they'll buy card sleeves to protect those cards.
Hey, it's not just us. I'm looking in front of you right now. You got a stack of
got a
card sleeves
stack
that
of
are.
sleeves. Sleeves in front of you.
This is going to come into the discussion, absolutely.
They're a present for you, Kevin.
But
Hey, cool. I didn't know.
I think originally sleeves' intention when they were created were to be a protection for your cards. So like in Magic the Gathering, right? Like, or like Pokemon or any of these collectible card games, you would often have those sleeves to put your cards in to keep them
I'm pretty
protected.
sure they function the same way nowadays. So let's go around the table and explain kind of what camp we're in, pro sleeve, not pro sleeve, and how deep we are into sleeves or not into sleeves, right? So I've been sleeving since 2008, I think. So it started for me with Dominion. I think they're up to 8,000 expansions by now. I've sleeved all of them. I don't sleeve all of my games, but if it's a big box game, I'm going to sleeve. If it's a small card game, I may or I may not. I would say, I don't know, maybe 50% of my games are sleeved at this point.
And tell your collection size. How many games do you own?
Oh, I don't know if we need to go into that. No, I have about, including expansions, it's probably around 650.
So
Right.
you're saying about 325 games are potentially sleeved?
That's probably a little high.
Okay.
That's probably a little high. But a lot of games are sleeved, and if I get a new game, I'm probably going to sleeve it. You know, so that's kind of me. I'm definitely pro sleeve. What about you, Ben?
Interesting. I don't know where one would even buy a sleeve. So I have never purchased one. I don't have a
never?
single. Nope. Well,
Now, some games do come with sleeves. Have
Never
you ever
seen it.
You've never
No.
Like some Kickstarters will give you sleeves and stuff like that. You've never had a Kickstarter.
I
like
probably
that?
gave them away for free to someone as a special thank you. I don't know.
So I just got Carnegie, and it came with sleeves, and that made my little heart so happy. It was amazing. Yeah, premium sleeves. So you've never...
I've never sleeved a single game.
Not even a single card?
Not
Ever?
even. I don't even know. How do you do it? Do you? How do you open it? Are they sticky? I don't even know how you do it.
Moving on.
I have thoughts later, but no, I've never sleeved.
Tyson at this point.
So I am not as far to the whatever side that is.
It might be dark.
I don't know what
know.
just happened. Yeah.
But I'm more closely aligned with Ben in this, in that I don't sleeve almost ever. I'd say that if a game, I've had a couple of games, Kickstarters or other games come where they come with sleeves, and I've sleeved those games. I'm trying to think if there's any games that I've owned and that I've deliberately bought sleeves for, except for the game that we're going to get into
Oh, we're gonna get
within
into
this.
it.
I just bought some sleeves for a game, And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But that's probably one of the first games that I've gone out of my way to buy sleeves for. And there's all sorts of opinions that come from that experience alone. But I have bought a ton of sleeves, actually. I've probably bought 500 to 1,000 sleeves. But that's when I was
rookie numbers right there.
That was the starter
Got
pack
that
for
in my
Kevin.
back pocket.
That's when I went and was designing games. I was doing my own designs and things like that.
Which
And
they're very useful
they're
for them.
fantastic for that. Like,
sure.
because it gives you a real card feel when you have like just a piece of paper, or you
I
want
see.
to put a card. Like I had a bunch of playing cards that I would use, and then put like a printed paper in front of it and use that so that it makes it have that feel.
We're going to go ahead and put a point in favor of sleeving.
Oh,
No.
we're just giving our points right now. Okay.
So in terms of prototyping and board game design, I've used sleeves a fair amount. Outside of it, for like my own personal collection of board games, almost never, unless it comes with the game already.
So I am in the same boat with Kevin as of sleeving.
Addict.
What?
Addict.
Yes, I am. For me,
Fully admit that. Sure. Why
you know,
not?
I have a lot of games on my shelves that I bought years ago that are not sleeved. But pretty much any new game that I get, unless it's a very small card game, I sleeve it. For instance, I just got Cat in the Box at Origins. It's already sleeved.
It's already sleeved.
For me, that is almost a ceremonial part of unboxing a game, punching out the pieces, and then sleeving it. I have a similar collection to Kevin's, not quite as large in number of games. Anything new I get, I sleeve, whether I've decided I want to play it more or not, and whether I've determined it's a good game or not.
Does it not just feel like a ton of work?
It doesn't.
It is so relaxing.
And if
Interesting.
if we are going to get into that now,
I think
let's
we
talk
are.
about
For
some of the pros
me,
here.
Like the therapist in me wants to really
it
know
is-
why
for
this is
me,
good
it's
for you.
very therapeutic to
Agreed.
sit there
Interesting.
and mindlessly sleeve cards while I am watching a sports game or a movie or a TV show with
Watching
my
the
family.
penguins.
It gives me something to do other than just watching the show or just watching the game. And it lets you preview the cards for the first
Oh,
time
interesting.
in a protective white glove environment.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like for me, I've talked about it before on the show. If I get a Dominion expansion, for example, I'm going to break it open. I'm going to get 3, 4, 5 packs of sleeves, and I'll start looking through the cards. I'm like, oh, that's a cool card. And I get them in stacks of 10, put them in the box. And it's a whole, like you said, Tyler, it's almost like a ceremony. It's a ceremonial thing when you open up the game, and it's part of the process, which is really fun and really cool for me.
Dominion's a game that I do see it making sense for me personally. If I were to sleeve a game, it might be that.
Another
Because
point for sleeves.
It's a baby
2-0
point for one
those
particular
keeping track.
game.
All right. Let me give some counters, though. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say with Dominion, it's those cards get turned over so quickly, handled so much. I can see a use for that just to keep the card playable.
And I can understand that as well, and I want to get into that. But let me touch back on some things that Kevin and Tyler were just saying here about the cathartic, almost therapeutic experience of sleeving cards. I've never had that experience ever. I was just sleeving 100 cards because I bought accidentally 100 sleeves, and I meant to buy
you
400
accidentally-
sleeves.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't,
I
that doesn't
accidentally
make
buy
sense.
sleeves. I get that.
How did this show up at my house?
Whoopsie.
I didn't buy enough sleeves for the game that I got, and I ended up having to buy more sleeves. I misread how many cards or how many sleeves were in the pack, etc. Anyway, 100. That's what came in the pack that I bought, and then Tyler ended up being gracious enough for and picking up the other sleeves that I didn't get, but I was just sleeving 100
I had
cards.
to take out a loan to afford those, by the way.
How much were these sleeves?
Okay, we're going to get into this now. Okay. These sleeves are in front of me. I still am going to talk about the points where I'm countering
Okay,
exactly what you
I'm on the
guys
edge
are
of my
saying.
seat. Tell me.
But these sleeves were $13 a pack. For 100 sleeves, it's $13.
Yeah,
What's that per sleeve?
That is ridiculous.
Insane. I
That-
could buy 700 sleeves for that.
I
Really?
thought it was $13 to sleeve the game.
Yeah.
There are 400 something cards or about 400 cards in the game. And so when I put my online order in, I was like, oh, sleeves for $13 to do the game? Sure, I'll do that. I threw that in the order, the cart, and then I hit send on the order. And then I looked at the order after I had completed it, and it said, by the way, one set of sleeves is not enough to sleeve all the cards in this game.
But you thought it was. So why did you buy sleeves in the first place then?
So the reason I bought these sleeves is because I thought they looked cool and they added an aesthetic to the game.
They do look really cool.
And it's
I
a
agree
deck
with
builder. It goes back to the point that you guys were just talking about, Dominion, right? That the deck builder, where it's a purely card game, there are games where if it,
It sounds like he's arguing for us again.
Wait,
No.
wait.
3 points.
I have so many questions. Is that sleeve unique compared to other sleeves? Does it look different?
Yeah. It has a
Is it
back to
gold
it,
plated?
Absolutely.
no, it's got a design on the back.
Okay.
And then
Which
it's
is pretty
clear on the
cool.
front.
which is
a cool
probably
sleeve.
also on the back of the card.
It is.
But
I
it would have been see-through.
I bought it because I thought, oh, $13 is a good price to sleeve an entire game of a deck builder. And it was a deck builder. It's a card game, so it's okay to do it. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I made a mistake on what I purchased, and that really soured me because I ended up having to spend $39 more to sleeve the rest of the game.
At this point, it's a completion
could've-
task.
Yeah, exactly.
Well-
It was a completionism thing for me where I was like, oh, I could have bought the expansion for this game instead of the sleeves for this game.
I mean, I
And-
can understand why you don't want to sleeve your games if you're spending $13.
Yeah,
on
I would
that's
agree.
crazy. That's crazy.
I would agree that is a outlying kind of experience in regards to price. I still think, and we'll get into a price discussion here in a minute, but I want to touch back on your cathartic therapeutic response.
This is not going to be cathartic for you when you sleeve those.
You're going to be like, this is $13.
It's not. It's 52. He bought 4 packs.
Oh my God.
Oh, Tyson.
I've sleeved
You
games.
could have cut your losses at 13 and just de-sleeved those cards.
You were talking about how the game, you could look at the cards and read through the cards as you were sleeving them.
Sure. Yeah.
And you're going to have to answer this after I answer it for myself, but I don't know how long it takes you guys to sleeve a single card. One of the things that I really dislike is the task of getting your card in the sleeve can take some time. But then you were just talking about how you can read the card in the process. Well, if I'm taking 1, 2, 3 seconds to sleeve a card, and then I read through the card, if there's a lot of text on there, it's taking me 10 seconds per card to go through, and it's tedious and it takes forever to go through. And I don't find that personally as a cathartic or therapeutic experience because I'm like, I see the stack of cards I have next to me, and I've got 100 cards, 400 cards, and it's taking me 5 to 10 seconds per card to sleeve this.
So often what I'll do, I'll actually just sleeve them all. And then once they're sleeved, I'll go back and look at them while I'm still sitting there. So I feel like I can sleeve cards.
It's a quick process. I mean, you just, pinch it.
But I have a question for Kevin and Tyler. Have you guys ever tried a nap? Those are really therapeutic. They feel really
nap while sleeving?
No, just nap.
In
instead
place
of
just nap?
sleeving.
If you experience some other joy-giving things, you might.
But it's, well, I don't know.
I can understand why
Do
you
you
would keep
do
your hands
things
busy.
when you are watching a show, right? Do you fiddle with something or
Sometimes
sit on your phone?
No, I find it really hard to do. I'm okay at multitasking, but I wouldn't say that.
I do.
I
I'll
focus
color.
on a thing and
part
give
of
my
the
attention.
therapy
I like to pay
is
attention
also,
to the show.
Right.
Yeah, I do.
Sure, but you can sleeve without paying attention, really. I mean,
So
you
you've
can
got it
do
down
it
to where it's
without
a mindless
looking.
type of thing.
Yeah, plus you're taking in the aroma of the new box
Oh,
smell.
the new
There we
box.
go.
Yes, that is
so
a
it
huge
is
thing.
a drug for him.
New box smell? Absolutely. Yeah.
I see.
Well, and I don't usually watch a show. I just sit in my game room, and that's kind of my happy place. So
He's
you
like
know,
he's like a little kid in his game room sleeping.
I am
Happy as a clam.
That is my happy place.
Probably humming to himself.
I'm surrounded by games. It's a magical place. And if I'm sleeving at the
sounds
same
cute,
time,
Kevin.
thanks, Ben.
I'm there with you when you guys say, like, when I get a new game, I open that box, I go through it, I punch all the tokens, I undo the cards and flip through them, and I go through the whole process and enjoy that experience. And then I read through the rules or flip through the rule book. I enjoy that process, but when it comes to now I've got to put each card in a sleeve, it's tedious to me. I don't like it.
I wonder about this. So with sleeved cards, do you guys find them easier to shuffle?
Absolutely.
I find them harder to shuffle.
Well, so there's a few things here. I absolutely think they're easier to shuffle. You can cut the deck and you just slide them together, and that they're shuffled. You do that a few times, they're shuffled. They also prevent people from riffle shuffling.
What's
right?
riffle shuffle?
So
The traditional
bridge.
yep,
bridge shuffle, some people call it, right? You can't do that with sleeved cards.
Right,
So you
exactly.
kind of have to do that in a different way. Right?
False, I did it last night.
There's one game. There's one game I've been able to do it, and that's Point Salad. Because Point Salad's cards are
sleeved Point Salad?
I absolutely
is out there a little bit.
that absolutely sleeve Point Salad. That's not out there. What are you talking about? You're on the sleeve side. Kyle.
that's right.
You're on the sleeve side.
So I'm gonna join Kevin on this one.
Hey!
If there were a game I would sleeve, it would be Point Salad for me. And the reason I would sleeve it is because it's a game I play a lot.
Buy the game again. It's cheaper than buying the sleeves.
No,
It's not.
They're like $2.
But it's close
Really?
to.
Yeah.
They're not that expensive.
You can sleeve the whole game for $2.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
to spend $52.
Oh, that's just Tyson's trick.
That was just my dumb
I
decision,
see.
all right? But no, I would agree because like Point Salad for me is a game I play multiple times with my 5-year-old. He loves that game. It's a game that we will play forever. And now Point Salad's not really a game that's probably going to go out of print anytime soon. So I could probably get another copy. Mm-hmm. But if I don't want to spend the money on it, like I would consider sleeving that one just so that it retains its durability and the cards can maintain. But most games that you sleeve will never see that kind of action, right? You're never going to have.
But that doesn't
Sure,
matter.
but most heads that are wearing bike helmets don't see the action of the pavement either. It's there to protect the head.
What an example.
Did you sleeve it alone?
Kevin, answer me this.
Yes.
So was your point that your sleeved Point Salad cards are shuffleable? Was that what your point was?
My point was, yes, that's the only game I own that I can shuffle the cards.
Why
in the
does
sleeve.
that make it different? Why is that
Well, because
game?
they're paper thin, right?
The cards
cards
The cards
themselves.
themselves are really thin,
Oh.
so you put a sleeve on them, you can still bend them, and if you want to
But
do the bridge
generally-
shuffle, you can. But generally, you can't.
Generally, by sleeving your games, you protect them from being bridge shuffled by someone who is not aware of how nice we like to keep our games, right?
Okay.
And a bridge shuffle is damaging to cards
Potentially.
over time.
Because it bends them?
Yes.
But how many times are you playing these games? You guys are sleeving. Oh, let's take that back a step, right? You guys sleeve almost every one of your games, or at least Tyler sleeves almost every one of his games. Kevin, you sleeve at least 50% of your games or something like that, right? How many of those games that you've sleeved are getting played more than 1, 2, or 3 times?
That's not the point for me.
No,
though.
that is my point I'd like to make
But
right now.
The point for me is
no, this is a lawyer situation.
Tyson.
Just a yes or no
Tyson.
answer, sir.
what is happening?
Tyson.
You're on the hot seat. Did you
apparently
swear in?
For me, it makes the game feel more premium to me. So if I get a game like
I can see that.
Tekenu, for example, it's got those little cards. I remember sleeving those. It just makes the game feel a little bit better, in my opinion.
I'm
a little bit more premium. You get the cards; they feel good in your hand. So it's not all about I'm going to play this game 100 times, and this is protecting the card. It's just the feel as I'm playing the game and as I'm looking at the cards on the board. It's just prettier. It's a more premium feel.
If I were to ever sleeve, that would be the reason. I'm a very visually
And
driven
tactile.
person, and I'm artistic sort of, and that to me, they do look pretty. But every time I pick up a sleeve deck, they slide everywhere and I drop the whole thing. That's my problem.
Do you have small hands?
I think that might be.
Ben has a valid point, and we've even mentioned this in 2 episodes back, episode 13. We had the video of you have a stack of cards.
And it's dealing itself out to
that
the
is
player.
not a pro. You cannot swing this. There's a stack of cards on the table that are all sleeved. Think Terraforming Mars. I don't remember what the game was, but
Someone blew and they all separated.
no, they didn't even have to blow. They just let go of the stack and they all just started falling off because
was just
it's
the
too
ghosts.
slippery.
I think that happens when you use some of the more premium sleeves that are a little bit thicker in microns. And if we want to talk microns, we can. But I personally avoid the higher numbered, thicker sleeves.
Yeah, and that can be an issue.
It can be,
It
but
can be because it does add to the thickness of the cards. And if you have a game like we mentioned, Terraforming Mars or Ark Nova that we just played,
Sure.
right? It's got a big old stack of
Yeah.
cards in the middle. If you sleeve those and you keep it in one stack, then it's going to be a massive stack, and there is a chance that that's going to.
How many times are you playing a game that's not sleeved and someone knocks over the stack of cards anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
And my solution is
Have 2 stacks.
let's make 2 stacks, right? Yeah. Let's make a stack that is not big enough where the cards are going to flop all over themselves, right?
So I have a rotating card holder for this reason. When the stacks are extra big, it holds 3 stacks, it rotates, and it's perfect for those games that have really big stacks of cards that are sleeved.
I have confusing feelings inside right now.
Are we persuading?
I
Are you
I
losing
feel like
Ben,
I can
Tyson?
see some benefits.
No, I'm not going to deny there are benefits because obviously I just spent an inordinate amount of money on sleeves. I don't dislike sleeves. In fact, the main reason I bought the sleeves I bought recently was because they add that premium feel. And I totally agree with what you're saying, Kevin. There is a premium component to it. One of my favorite examples of best sleeves I've ever seen are the Dead Reckoning sleeves.
Yeah,
right?
those are awesome.
Those are
The
sweet.
Dead Reckoning sleeves are phenomenal, and they really do create a premium feel to the game. They have specific art on the back. They have they are beautiful. I do like the tactile feel of it, and it does feel like a sturdier card when I have to display a hand of cards.
Yeah.
That can be nice. So I don't dislike sleeves altogether. I just think for me, if I'm having to buy trays and sleeves and other stuff to make sure that it all works, one of the big problems I have with sleeves is inserts, like game inserts, right? Like if I sleeve my game, it doesn't fit in most inserts because they don't take into that
I think
account.
publishers, especially on crowdfunded games now, are doing a better job about creating trays that can handle the sleeves. And honestly, like Fantasy Flight games, I'm throwing out that insert anyway.
Well,
like,
those inserts are worthless.
right? Like,
Yeah.
And I agree
And
with
that's-
what you're saying, but what I'm trying
It's
to
a
get
concern.
it has happened where I've sleeved a game. Like, I think I sleeved Imperium Legends, and I had to get rid of the insert. And I was a little bummed about that, but I'd still rather protect those cards from fraying on the edges, from getting fingerprints, from chocolate, whatever someone's got on their hands that they're playing.
Somebody puts the card in their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely
right?
brought chocolate chip cookies one time, so I'm glad the cards were sleeved that day.
Really, for me, one, it feels like I'm upgrading my game by sleeving it.
Sure.
I'm going the premium route by doing that. I'm protecting the cards, whether a spill happens or not during the life of the game, whether I play it once, whether I play it 50 times, I am protecting the game for a very minimal cost.
Sure.
And aside from the therapeutic part of sleeving the game and going through the cards for the first time when I unbox a game, that's the reason I sleeve, is to protect the game.
Yeah, and I like, it's blinging your game, right? Who doesn't
Yeah.
like to do that?
Well, I do that.
And the more I get into games, the more value I put in that is getting premium pieces and stuff. And it's just part of that whole process. We've talked about like the Race for the Galaxy games and buying the Geek Up bits and stuff. That adds to my enjoyment of the game. Having a premium card sleeve or not a premium card sleeve or any type of card sleeve adds to my enjoyment of the game. Your card sleeves that you bought, they look amazing. They're awesome. They got that cool picture on the back.
I love that skull.
That skull looks great. That's going to add to the enjoyment of the game. So just having card sleeves does that for me.
And I would agree. And that's where so I would say that I'm a very selective sleever, right?
Sure.
Like if it adds that premium experience, I will enjoy it. But like a game like, say Tapestry, right? I do really like the sleeves that you guys have on your Tapestry cards, but they don't really add anything to me other than the feel, because they're just clear sleeves. So like to me, I don't dislike sleeves. I just, for my own preferences,
selective.
It would depend on the game and depend on my use of the game. Because if it's a game that I think I'm going to get a lot of value out of by playing a lot, I want to sleeve it potentially.
Definitely.
But even if it's a game that is not going to get as much plays, say like the Dead Reckoning is a good example, and it has great, like it adds to the experience because those sleeves are beautiful, that's a great way to use it. But most games, like I can't personally understand, like, and I appreciate that Tyler loves this, but I can't personally get on board with sleeving every single game I own, because the amount of money I would put into sleeves if I did that would mean that I could just buy more games. Like I'd rather just buy more games.
Where do you guys buy sleeves?
I've backed Kickstarters for sleeves
Okay.
to get a really good discount. I usually buy them when they're on sale in bulk.
On the Kickstarter or somewhere else?
On the Kickstarter, on Miniature Market, directly from the manufacturer. So I started out using, is it Mayday?
Yeah, so I started out with Mayday as well. And I think on my recommendation, you may have started with Mayday. I don't know.
I think I did. But then I switched eventually to Sleeve Kings. It's basically the same manufacturer. Their base sleeve is in between the premium and base sleeve of Mayday, and it's the perfect thickness, and I love those sleeves. Plus, instead of 100 sleeves, you get 110 sleeves in each of your packages. So I backed Sleeve Kings Kickstarter. I have thousands of sleeves of different types, different sizes.
Unused currently.
Unused currently, sitting in those bins behind Kevin. I have one that still has hundreds and maybe a couple thousand Mayday, and 4,000 or 5,000 Sleeve Kings of different sizes. And I have no problem with the price. I understand that, hey, like insurance, this is a sunk cost maybe that I'll never benefit from. But if I were to spill on a game, fine, whatever. It's protected. I'm okay. I can wipe off the sleeves and it'll be fine. I buy most of my games well under MSRP by, online game stores.
So you don't feel so bad.
So spending, $2 or $4 or $5 to sleeve a 100 card game or a 200 card game. Yeah, I've never paid anywhere near that.
Well, but those are different, Tyson.
I think
those
they're
They're cool.
different cards.
They're cool.
They're nice.
You're not always going to be buying that.
I think the most I've ever spent on a pack of sleeves is probably about $6.50, and that was like a one-time thing.
Yeah, that was Cthulhu Death May Die.
Yes.
It has the odd size cards, it has the jumbo sleeves, and I think that was my most expensive game to sleeve.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm happy I did it.
But as far as spending a couple bucks on a pack of sleeves to sleeve most games, that's nothing.
Tyler, I have a proposition for you.
Uh-oh.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
You get that therapeutic aspect of it from sleeving.
Uh-huh.
I get that therapeutic aspect from painting minis.
Oh.
Perhaps we have a trade.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah.
Which game would you like to start with?
I mean, I as far as I understand, it needs to be point salad.
No. So I actually didn't sleeve Point Salad.
That's one you didn't sleeve?
No.
I'd have to think about what I would really
Do I
want
have
to
a
sleeve.
problem?
No, because I'm sure I've sleeved card games like that you haven't sleeved. So.
Did you sleeve Llama?
No.
I did not sleeve Llama.
I did.
No.
I do sleeve my love letters, especially after I didn't sleeve Batman love letter. Now that thing, to buy that thing new is expensive.
I sleeved Batman love letter, and I'm very glad I did.
There are a couple of games that I wish I would have sleeved. One of them for me is The Resistance. I played that game over and over again. And that game in particular, it is important that you cannot distinguish one card from another. So if one gets damaged or frayed edges or anything like that, it's easier to detect what's going on in the game. Yeah. So there is absolute value in that. And if you're getting games that don't have the highest quality card stock for them, that can be important. So like in those instances, particularly when secrecy is important, I can understand the value of doing it, because my copy of The Resistance now is no longer like easy to conceal some of the gameplay elements of it because of that. And I don't want to replace it because they came out with a different version than what I have now. And I like my version of it better.
Point for sleeves.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of
you're also making you're both confirming that there are negatives to sleeves as well.
And I don't doubt that, right? The whole insert thing does bother me from time to time, because it's like, come on, just make an insert that people sleeve cards. Just make an insert that fits for sleeve cards. Dang it!
It's not like you're
took out the insert for Cat in the Box. It's not a big deal.
It is though. So the game. Okay, I wasn't going to mention the game that I bought sleeves for, but I'm going to mention it because I like this game a lot. But the insert doesn't work with sleeves either. The game is Eschaton, and I like Eschaton a lot. Has 400 cards roughly in the game. The insert is set so that the cards don't move around, but if you sleeve the cards, they no longer fit in the insert. And if I have to throw out my insert and I have 400 loose leaf cards in my box.
I agree with bags. Yeah, that's what bags are for. But the fact that they did not take that into account when they sell their own sleeves, that is just a huge oversight.
Right. But one of the things so they're a small publisher. They're a very small publisher.
Yep,
they only have a couple of games in their line. Eschaton is a game that is, I think, very good. And because they're a small publisher, I also did not feel as bad spending more money, because it supports them as a publisher to continue doing something that I personally understand and have helped on the small publisher side. Right. And I can feel a lot of empathy towards that. So I have no problem supporting that from that standpoint. But yeah, if you're a big publisher and you do this all the time, you run multiple Kickstarters a year, whatever, and you design an insert that doesn't accommodate that, it makes me not want to get sleeves for that game.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, coming away from this conversation, this debate, I feel like I will no longer ridicule you blokes for using sleeves. I can see points when I might use them. I don't know. I'll have to report back if I do ever use a sleeve, but
I'm gonna send you home with
I
some.
definitely feel like
this is like a drug deal.
I have learned a little bit more today.
when we're done recording
I have been educated.
We're gonna talk games, and we're gonna find a game that I can send you home sleeves for.
First one's free.
Sounds great.
Why have I never gotten this offer?
Well,
I'm going to continue making
sleeves.
fun of you then.
I mean, it really comes down to it's a personal preference, right?
Right.
How you like your cards to feel, how well you want to protect them, how much you don't care if they get damaged, or
how much you're playing the game.
Yeah,
there's a lot of factors.
There's definitely a lot of factors. I think there's a good argument.
All directions.
Yep.
I agree.
In conclusion,
we've talked about sleeves enough, I think.
Yes.
Let's wrap this up.
So I think that closes our discussion on to sleeve or not to sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are a lot of choices that you can make in this sphere, right? And they may be personal for you. They may be good. They may be bad. But ultimately, I think Do what makes you happy and makes your gaming experience better.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I second that.
Well said.
So that about wraps up this episode, right?
That does. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Longest Turn Board Gaming Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want more Longest Turn in your life, please check us out on Instagram. Also, be sure to check us out on Board Game Geek, where you can join our guild, Guild 3947, and check out our blog, where we post all our show notes and occasionally post more detailed reviews. If that's not enough for you, we have a Discord server. If you want to play a game with us on Board Game Arena, join our Board Game Arena group, The Longest Turn. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Toadsins.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Good night.
Hello, this is Kevin.
This is Tyson.
And we have, I don't know what we were going to say.
They're trying to
With us
introduce me.
today
All right. Should we do any other banter before we jump into what we've been playing lately?
we should continue to do awkward pauses because they're the best.
There have been 2 awkward pauses already, and we're like 30 seconds into the show.
So
Are those your skis?
have you guys
Both of them?
Anybody who's been
the
in
hold on
any-
maneuver.
Yeah,
she's
any
not from
Star Wars.
She's not from Star Wars. She's from Jurassic Park, and she's reprising her role.
Yeah,
But-
okay. Well, let me know how it goes after tomorrow.
All right. No spoilers. It had the same Top Gun cheese as
Right.
the original.
They paid homage to that.
Which they did. But
Was it Gouda or
Havarti? It was Gouda. I see what you did
I
there.
love me some Gouda.
card sleeve.
Okay, I'm ready.
So as the only one who has,
Who's squeaking the chair?
I think that was me.
if that's not enough for you, we have a Discord.
That one's me. All right, here we go.